Hey guys, welcome to the first 3D modeling tutorial on the channel. As this is a beginner's tutorial, we're going to be keeping it simple with nothing too complex, trying to avoid things like ZBrush and 3D sculpting. So as you know from the first episode we released on the channel, we played through the first level on Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and then I retook some screenshots from the gameplay and have chosen what we're going to work on. So to start off with, we're going to work here on this corridor. It's nice, simple, clean and straightforward, so I think it's a good starting point for anyone new in 3D. There's no crazy complex shapes or anything going on. Okay, so now we know what our reference point will be. It's time to break down the scene to see how many components we will need to model and create to finish the scene. As you can see, we've got 5 pieces all together, 1 being the floor, 2 and 3 being either side, which generally you could have as the same, but on the left side you can see we have exterior windows to the outside. Number 4, we have the doorway, which is the central point of this scene, and then finally at the top to seal the loop we have number 5 as the ceiling. I would always recommend breaking it down when you have a reference image. It makes it a lot more easier and allows you to focus on actually what's important in the scene. So now we've got all of our reference images together and we've broken down the scene into what assets we'll be needing. I've dropped that back into here. And I just wanted to go on a side note to let you know that the program I use for all my references is called PureRef. It's a free program and it's super useful because it allows you to keep all of your reference images at the original resolution and you can just zoom in and out. So if you're an artist or 3D artist, I highly recommend it. It makes the workflow so much easier. Okay, so now we're inside 3ds Max, so we're going to start with the floor because I think that's the easiest and most straightforward part. We want to make sure our units are set up correctly inside the scene, so we go to the customize bar across the top, unit set up, and I've already got it set up to meters. So now to start we're going to drop in a basic primitive of a plane. To do that we go to the top right, you have the first cross and then this little circle, geometry, standard primitives, and we'll drop in the plane. You can see I hit S there, that makes sure it's comes out even, so basically a perfect square rather than an oblong. Now here on the right panel we can see the parameters of the primitive, so we can see it's currently set to 1.4 meters. That's an awkward size to work with, so we're going to set that to 4 meters. Now the reason I've chosen 4 is if we drop back our reference images, I'd say our character is maybe 1 meter 8, so say 2, so roughly guessing that's 2 meters for each square section, so 4 meters is what we're going to work with. So first thing I'm going to do is change the primitive to crane. That's what I prefer to work in, it's easier on the eyes. And then I want any new edges I create to be black, so do that. Click on this color here, black. Okay, done. Currently it's still primitive and it's not editable poly, so before we can start any work we have to change that. We go right click, convert to editable poly. I am going to, okay, that's not the selection tool, I want a box. So to quick change the selection tool I just press Q. I don't know if you can change it in the upper left corner. I find rectangle easier to work with, so we're actually going to split this object in half because it's going to be the same either side, so it makes no sense to model everything twice. So we split it in half and then we come over to the right, select the symmetry tool. You might not have this here, so to find it on your end you have to go to the drop down box, press S and then find symmetry. And we'll flip what plane we want it on. We want it there. Let's split down the X or Y axis. Is where it's mirroring from. And then we are good to go. So to turn that on, when you click off, it'll disappear, but there's a little toggle button here on the right side. so let's begin. So I think to start off with, we're gonna rework these side panels just to separate them, because this is ugly, too repetitive. So I'm gonna select these edges again. You can see they've gone yellow. Oh. If your camera ever goes off, like so, you can fix it by pressing Z and it will center on the selected object that's dependent on here, or on this dial box on the top right navigation. The little house pops up and it'll take it to the center point of the scene. So I'm going to want to add in a connection here. One. I'm going to push it way over to the left to match roughly our reference proportions. And you can see, due to the symmetry that we've set up, it's repeating it on the opposite side. Now I want to work with a few more polys to make it easier. So again, I'm going to go over here. I want to add in a few more connections. And we'll set these to 0 because we want even. Here, so now we're going to work in, it's like a vent on the right side here. So we're going to create that here. In the game it's done with textures, but it's very flat, so we're going to add some geometry to that to make it a bit more interesting, and we're going to make it super basic. So we've got our poly selected. To do that, just click on it. If you hold control, you can add an additional face. We're going to insert. It creates a little face within there. Now we do want this to be a vent, so we're gonna extrude. That allows us to pull that face up and down. We're gonna sink it down. Now I don't want this side to be level. I kind of think it would be better if we sink that down. So we're gonna do this swift loop on the top panel. Click here. We're gonna bring all these faces, put them down just slightly. So now we've got a little vent gap here. I'm actually going to sink it a little larger because, thinking ahead, we're going to add some pipes there. Super simple. So next we're going to create our vent cover. To do that, I'm going to click this edge, shift to drag up, and then to element. That creates an extra face. I'm going to sink it in a little bit, and then I want to expand a little larger, and then I want to insert this like so. This in a little bit. Okay, so what I'm doing here is create an extra piece in the center. Deselect these, and then I want to bevel these edges. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add an opacity mask over these two larger squares. That will allow us to create texture where you can see through to the underneath, where we'll texture some pipe on this flat plane. Super simple, great cover. So we want to actually duplicate it on the other end, so we'll drop it down here. And then we want to duplicate over here. So, hey guys, I've gone and finished off the center of the floor panel. Unfortunately, my recording cut off, so I've missed it. So I'll quickly go over what I've added. So if we go here, I added 3 main shapes just to add a bit more geometry to it with the main panel, along with like a little clamp that would go over, and then a corner piece so it fits nicely with the main floor. And then my idea here is, so we've got these little triangles which will be an emissive texture, and here will be either a vent or maybe another light. We'll see when we get to texturing. So if we drop all that back down now, you'll see the finished floor panel. Okay, so now the floor's done, we're going to move on to the side wall on the right. So I'm going to start by creating a plane. I'm going to make sure that is 4 meters to match the floor panel. And the length will leave as it is for now, and we'll convert to editable poly. Okay, bring this over here. Is that it centered? No, let's center it. So, there we go. I'm going to start with the edge. I'm going to grab this, shift down to pull out and create a face. And I actually want to bring that slightly closer and higher. Okay. And now another thing that I'm going to do, like before, is use the symmetry tool. So again, we only have to model half of the asset. So we'll do that. Clear this side. Symmetry, flip, and there we go. Now you'll have to deal with this section. So as you see from the concept, it curves around like a shallow curve. So there's 2 ways you can do that. I'm gonna do it like this, so roughly comes up to about here. And then I'm actually going to connect these two. Once. It's shallow to steep, so I'm going to bring it over to the right. And then we can chamfer this edge, bring it out, a bit more depth, detail to the curve. And there we easily get a nice smooth curve. Now on the concept from this image, there's like an inset there. If I got a better angle here, I'll do it with that last, I think, so we can just do a basic extrude. English, okay. Okay, so we've brought this up. And then here, there's like an inlet for the light. We can just do this manually. Actually, we want it to be even, so it's probably best we do this. And extrude inwards. And clear these extra faces we don't need. Okay. So again, kind of goes more steep, and then it gradually comes off. And we want this to end at the same point as this on the y-axis, so I'm just gonna copy what we have here, grab this one, paste that in, and that brings it over, and then we want to make these edges smoother, so we'll do the same as we did below. And chamfer this. There we go. Kind of, the shadows are a bit ugly. Let's go with this. Oh, we could turn them off. Now we have to finish off the top. up. I'm going to bring it up further than it needs to go so that the ceiling meshes can just intersect with it. Makes it easier. And now we've got to work down the middle. So it insets roughly about here. So I think the best way to do that, if we separate where we want it to be here, and then we'll remove these. Bring this back. I want this to be flat, so we'll align it with the y-axis. And then we will have vertices that are overlapping, which you'll see if I do this. So we're just gonna highlight these, and we want to weld them together. So there we go. Now see when I grab this vertex, it moves all in one. Actually, we have an issue. This one. How can we fix that? Okay. Will this work? There we go. Solved it. Oh, to do the same for the bottom, so add in a swift loop, and then again weld these two, and then that should mean we have one vertex. No. How are we gonna fix this? So let's try this target weld. I wonder if this one actually fixed properly then. No, it didn't. Okay, so we'll do the same again for the top. Weld that here. Cool, and then we can grab these two edges and bridge. And then we can cap the end. Oh no, we can't because they're separate message. We'll grab these two edges then. Actually, best if you grab these so then it creates the right. Bring that over. Cool. I think that's going back too far, so give it forward. Now on the reference as well, we can see they've got slots for vents and an extra lights. We'll add them in now. So there's a vent here. And it's coming out. That will obviously create these faces, which we don't want, so we'll delete them. And then we will inset with these. And bring these together in the middle. Easy. And that can just be, we can do that vent via a texture. Then we need to do, actually I'm going to remove the symmetry for this. Remove symmetry, collapse, then we can work with one. And then that makes it easier for when we do this. We're going to add the light, inset, and then again extrude this way. Shrink that down just a little bit, like so. Add a little bit of more detail, so we'll bevel this. Cool. How should we'll get a box, I think. Box. Bring that up. Editable poly. Delete the rear facing one because we don't need. Center. And because I want to symmetry this again eventually, I'll add what's going on? That down the middle. Bring this up. Connect these. Okay, connect these again. do this bit up. So to do that, I'm just gonna select these edges and bridge. Actually, do this. Go over. Want them. Nope. Align. Bring to the center. Bridge these. Bridge these. Cool. Make sure anything is welded properly. Make sure everything's welded properly. And then that's exactly on 0, so it's aligned. And we'll add the inset for the light. So we'll inset and then we'll extrude inwards. This is going back way too far. And then this light is currently way too fat, but I want to show a cool little tool. So if we select the whole object, we can go on FFD, and that creates like a 3D transform tool. So, some control points. Now because I know I'm going to delete the left half, later on I'm only going to work on the right side. Transform this how I want. Collapse, and then remove this side. I also then need to realign this to the x-axis so it's central. Make that 0. There we go. And then we actually want to do the same with the wall. We'll delete the left half. Attach the light and then add back the symmetry modifier. Okay, so now we've got the base done for the wall. I'm gonna speed up time and then add some basic details. And I'm back. So as you can see, we've finished off the wall, the floor's done. The next steps will be to finish off the opposite wall as well as the ceiling and the end door. So by the end of next week we should have this tutorial fully finished. By the midweek I'll have the rest of the modeling done, and by next weekend we'll have the scene fully textured and set up inside of the Unreal Engine. These tutorials do take a lot of time, so I'd appreciate a like and subscribe, and if there's any feedback you guys want to give on the format or layout, please let me know.